All right, welcome back to Mr. Post Frame. We are going to be starting another Barndo build. Before we get going, if you guys are looking to design your own post frame home, please reach out to us. We have a whole design process that we can take you through to help you get to the point that you want to be at. So check that out. Emails design Mr. Post Frame. Secondly, if you are going to self-build, check out our Patreon group. It's a self-build group. We talk about different building topics every month. You get to ask me questions. It's a great community of other self-builders, and you can really get a lot of good information, and you get to share your build on there with everybody else. So it's a pretty cool thing. But let's go ahead and jump into this show. This Barndo build is a 36x80 with 19-foot sidewalls. So we're going to cover some land prep, pad prep in this video, along with pier layout. So let's go ahead and just jump into the show. I have not been out here to this build site since I met with the clients out here. They had their own site prep. People come out here, I don't know if it was friends or what the deal is, but I will tell you first glance, there's gonna be, the pad's looks nice and level. It's 36 foot wide, 80 foot long, but I can see that it wasn't leveled off where the porches are gonna be, which isn't the end of the world. It's just going to take a little bit more work and a little bit more difficulty when you're laying out those piers, if it's not already pre-leveled and everything. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to have porches, make sure you get that leveled and gravel put in there as well. Those footings are going to have to stick out of the ground a little bit. I'm not sure how wide they are on these. I'm going to have to look at the plans tonight and check that all out. But for the most part, this pad looks pretty good, other than it just doesn't encompass the porches, which is important. Just makes life a lot easier if you can get that done right away. So there'll be a porch over here, and then there's a porch on that back side of the house too. They'll enter the garage right here, and then this is all living space. It's gonna be 19-foot sidewalls. They have like dual stairways in this plans. It's kind of cool. Be neat to see what it looks like when it's finished. But tomorrow we are going to lay this building out, do all the piers. I'm gonna try to do a good job of explaining how we do that, and then how we pour a pier, how we do all that kind of set our wet set brackets and whatnot. So I'm gonna get all the equipment unloaded, kind of get some of the columns moved around that were delivered, and we'll be back here tomorrow to do footings. All right guys, it's a beautiful morning. We're going to lay out. We have our pad all prepared, so should be pretty level, but step one is I take a rotary laser level and I find the highest corner. Even if it's off a couple inches, I like that footing to be right even with the gravel. So then if any of it's lower, they're only sticking out an inch or two if whoever prepared the build site did it right. So that's what we're doing. We're going to hit each corner with the laser level, see where the highest point is, and then once we do that, we will lay out the front of our building. We know that's kind of our constant, so we will lay that string line out and then build everything else off of that. So we'll lay the front string line, measure over 36 feet, lay the back side string line, and then we will square both ends. All right, so we have the front of our building. You can see the string line right here. This building's 36 foot wide, so we measured over 36 from both ends and put a string line up down that side. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can run a string line across here, use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, or in my case, I'm going to use this layout laser. But you would just have to get a calculator, construction calculator, to do your math, and then you would just put in 36 by 80, and it would give you your diagonal, so you can measure from corner to corner to make sure you're square. Then we'll line it up down there. You can see it's going to auto align to here. So then once we know this is lined up, it's going to cast a laser a 90-degree angle, and we can find that over there in that corner, and then that triangle is squared. Then we just have to do that around the building. Alright, I think it's got it. And then we'll mark it out with the marker over here. You know, measure and put our string line up. So we need to add on to this. So what we'll do is we'll just screw a board onto here, Cash, okay, and put another stake. So grab another stake, I'll grab a board. Good?
Yep.
Maybe we're right there. Maybe an 1/8 off is all. So I'll call that good. So let's just, for fun, let's check our diagonal into that corner. Yeah. All right, so there's gonna be a lot of people that say that this is way overboard and they could have done this in 5 minutes, which is probably true. But I want this to be as perfect as I can, because this will determine how the rest of the build goes for me. So I take a lot of time, probably more than I should, to make sure this is exactly square, because I want to start square so that my life is easier. Because if you mess up and are an inch off somewhere, you're gonna spend time later on during the build trying to correct those issues. So this is very important to me. So you just take your time, do it the way you want to do it, and make sure it's accurate. 87.8 3/4. Burning 2. All right, so right there. So we were 87.8 3/4. He's burning 2 inches, which means he's holding it at 2 inches. So I should be 87.10 3/4, which is exactly what I am. So that means we are perfectly square in this corner to that corner. So now we're going to check this other side, which should be good too. Burning 2. Right on. And the most important thing is to make sure the end result is square string lines, that they're exactly the outside dimensions of your building. Some guys will make the building 3 inches shorter each way, so that when you put your string lines up, they're right against where your posts need to be. I like to make it exactly what the structure is going to be. That way when I put my girts and all that up, I can just have those string lines there if I need them. However, just make sure you take your time however you decide to do it, and make sure it's square, because if you start square, you have a lot better chance of ending square. So next step is going to be laying out your piers. There's a lot of reasons we make our buildings 8-foot post spacing, but one is for layout and making sure there's no weird spacings, which wherever you have garage doors and stuff like that, you're going to have your posts off the 8-foot on center. This is an 80-foot building, so all the way down both sides we are 8-foot on center. The building is 36-foot wide. The clients, they wanted to come off an 8-foot spacing and have the 36 versus 32 or 40. So we will have one short bay on these end walls. Where the garage is, you'll see the columns had to be moved anyway, because there's a 16-foot wide door and an 8-foot wide door. When you make your building 8-foot on center, it's real easy marking out all these column locations, because all you have to do is count by 8s and you can mark it out. So we're going to go through how we do it. You usually need 2 people. You can do this by yourself. I'll show you that in another video when I build my own garage. I'll show you how I do that by myself. But have somebody hold the tape at the corner of the string lines, and then you just pull the tape. Make sure it's nice and taut, like a nylon tape or a steel tape is best. Get into some of them, they stretch. You just want a tape measure that doesn't stretch. Mark them out with paint, and then we'll show you how we use our forms to mark our circles, so when we use our auger, we're right where we need to be. So guys, you'll hear people say burn 2, and what we mean by that, it's easier for the guy holding the tape just to hold it on a number versus the end of the tape, so that's why we say burn 2. So I'm going to go to 8-foot 2 inches, and that's where I know the center of my post is, because he's burning 2 inches. That's what we mean when we say that.
Yep.
Good. 8-2.
Yep.
16-2. 24-2. So I'm keeping the tape measure nice and straight, and I'm waiting for Cash to tell me that he's good. And then once he's good, I make my mark. There. You can see we ended right at 80-foot 2 inches. All right, let's go to this side.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So 3'7" 3/4, 3'9" 3/4.
Yep.
3/4, 3'9". That's to the edge of the post. 3'9" 3/4. All right, now let's go over to that side. 3 foot, 1 and 2, 9 and 3/4. What's 16 and 3?
19.
19, 7
and 3/4.
and 3/4.
So
right?
19, 9 and 3/4.
19, 9 and 3/4 should be the inside edge.
Yep, burn 2.
19, 9, 3/4. 12, 9 and 3/4. And then what's the measurement in center to center on these?
3/2.
3/2, so we need to add 6 inches, so it should be 3/8. Right, go right to the center of the line, center of that. Yep, we're at 3'10" in the middle, so we're good. All right, so this is the outside edge of our building. So we're gonna have girts. We're using standard girts, so we're gonna eat up 1.5 inches. So your post is gonna start right here. So what I do to make sure when I'm drilling, I'm as close to possible, I take an actual form and I set it right over the string line, imagining where my post is gonna be. So if you look at that, if I just take my spray paint and make a circle, my column is gonna be pretty close to the center. Now, one thing I will mention to you, you'll see a lot on forums where guys are saying, hey, your post or column isn't perfectly centered. and that's fine. The column just has to be full bearing on this concrete pad, and the brackets need 2 inches of concrete on the outside of the rebar for them to reach their full strength capacity regarding uplift, shear, all that. So my post could actually be right here and be just fine. We shoot for the middle, obviously, but if you hit a little rock or something, it could jar you off, but don't worry about that. As long as you're full bearing on this, you're fine. So this is how we do it. I'll just set it straight down over the string line. My post is going to be right here, and then we'll just make a circle. Then I know when I come up here with my auger, I can center my auger in the center of this. Another thing we'll talk about is our corner posts. So corner post, same thing. You're going to have a girt here and a girt here, so your post is going to sit. So I'll always make a little 90 with a line indicating my post is right, sitting right here. So I'll do the same thing. In this case, this part of the pad is a lot lower, so I'll just push this out like that, imagining my post is going to be right there. And then I make a circle. This is a garage door opening, and this would be the same if you're using dry sets in your corners. So the way I mark these out, the center of this orange line is the rough opening of my garage door. So if you think about that, my column, I use part of my column as that, is my column's going to sit right here. So if I have to imagine that my bracket needs enough PIER to be able to bolt it into, it's nice to have the bracket there. You can set this over. Of course, I got one that's going to be, and you can kind of imagine where your post is going to be and your bracket. You got to be careful, because if you center this PIER where the post is going to be, you could end up getting your bracket pretty close to the edge, which you want to avoid, obviously. So we offset these just a little bit on our garage door openings so that we have plenty of space for our bolt that holds our dry set bracket in. So you can see we'll have concrete all the way out to here. Our post will sit here. It'll favor this side, but that's all right. It only has to be full bearing. Prepared our building spot. We've laid it out. We've marked all of our piers. Now we are ready to start drilling our holes. So I like using my guy to prepare my build sites because he gets them almost perfectly level. And the reason that's important is because take this build site, for example. We got 4 to 6 inches of gravel down. I'm going to start here at this corner because my string line is pretty much touching the ground here. So I will set all my batter boards with the laser level so my string lines are level all the way around. And I do that so I can find out how level this pad is overall. And so my string line was touching here, but in that far corner, it was 6 inches off the ground. So this pad is 6 inches off grade over in that corner. That is not the end of the world. However, it will cost them more money to bring in more rock to get that up to grade. So if you think it from that perspective, depending on how big your building is, you could end up spending a couple $1,000s extra in rock by the build site not being properly prepared. And I've learned this the hard way. That's why I always have, I like to have the same company that I use to prepare on my build sites. However, a lot of clients like to use their own people, which is fine. You just have to understand, if it's not perfectly level all the way across, you could end up spending a couple $1,000s extra. It doesn't take a whole lot to get to a couple $1,000s extra of rock. So that's why it's important to get your build site prepared properly. But that's besides the point. This is what it is. It's not the end of the world, but because this is the highest point of the pad, I'm gonna set this pier flush with the ground here. That way when I'm down there, it's the minimum distance out of the ground that it has to be, because all these piers are gonna be the same grade within, you know, a ½ inch. So that pier is gonna stick out of the ground probably about 5-6 inches. This one will be flush with the ground, as low as I can get it. So that's how we lay out and mark our piers. Again, it's probably a little bit overkill, but I like when I'm sitting in the machine with my drill, I can line my drill right up with that circle, and I know I'm gonna probably be just fine. Every once in a while, you'll hit a rock that'll move you off, and you just have to stop, get your tape out, measure off your string lines, and make sure you're gonna land where you need to be. All right, guys, that's a wrap on this video today, but we are going to release a step-by-step process of short videos. We're gonna put them on our website so that they're searchable. So if you're self-building, you can check out each individual step. It's gonna be a shorter video, much easier to find the information you're looking for. But as always, we appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, share us with your friends, and we will catch you on the next video.